All right, that's okay. Let it go.
All right, it's live.
This is the Providence School Board meeting. This speaker system sounds so good. It is September 17, 2025. It is now 6:06, and we would like to begin this meeting. We will start with the roll call. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mireya Mendoza. Present. Jenny Mercado.
Here.
Najee Henry. Angel Newman. Here. Tyrell Stevens.
Present.
Michelle Fox.
Here.
Corey Jones.
Present.
Melissa Hughes.
Present.
Stephen Williams.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you so much. We will be going into items 1.2, Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will be going to items 1.3, Superintendent comments. Superintendent.
Thank you. Welcome to the new school year. I'm Dr. Paula Dillon, Deputy Superintendent of Academics for the district. Dr. Montañez is on medical leave and we wish him a speedy recovery. We are excited for a new school year. Exactly 3 weeks ago, I began my morning with many of you at a bus yard with Commissioner Infante Green, Mayor Smiley, members of the school board, before we went off to Alvarez High School, Spaziano PK8 School, and Martin Luther King Elementary School to greet students and families on the first day of school. At the end of the day, the mayor and district leaders traveled to Green Middle School to check on students after their first full day. It was a good first day filled with hopefulness and excitement. Lots of learning was occurring in the schools. At Providence, our mission is clear: excellent instruction, every classroom, every day. But excellent instruction can only make a difference when our students are in school to benefit from it. Strong attendance and strong instruction are inseparable. They are the foundation for improving student outcomes. We have started the year with some exciting news about our attendance achievements this last year. Providence has made historic gains in attendance. In 2021 to 2022, the district's chronic absenteeism was 57%, the highest in our history. Last year, 2024 to 2025, that number dropped to 29%. That is almost 28 percentage point decrease over the last 4 years alone. This means Providence has not only cut absenteeism nearly in half, but also brought rates below pre-pandemic levels and within national averages. Our FACE, Family and Community Engagement Office, and district attendance teams were critical in engaging families and addressing barriers. Our school teams were the first feet on the ground implementing the plan and addressing academic attendance barriers. This was a whole community effort, and we are so proud of this accomplishment and thank the families, educators, and leaders of the district. The evidence is clear. Attendance matters for achievement. When students are able to get back on track, meaning they were chronically absent in 23, but not in 2024, their academic performance improved significantly. One accomplishment that I'd like to also highlight is that the top 5 middle schools with the most significant improvements in chronic absenteeism were all located in Providence. Del Sesto Middle School, Roger Williams Middle School, Hopkins Middle School, West Broadway Middle School, and Nathan Bishop Middle School. And the top 3 of the 5 high schools with the most significant improvement were also in Providence: Juanita Sanchez, Alvarez, and EQ. Chronic absenteeism isn't just a statistic. It's a signal that a student needs deeper support. We look forward to sharing with you additional schools that have sustained or improved their attendance last year. As leaders in this work, Providence will keep using data, teamwork, and compassion to ensure students are seen, supported, and set up for success. We will continue to focus on academic improvements, and our facilities team is focused on doing all they can to improve safety and security. Attendance matters, and every day in school matters in order to achieve success. I want to take a minute to talk about our Phase 4 of facilities plans. Providence has made significant progress toward our 2030 capital vision plan. Every student learning in new or like new schools. With nearly $1 billion in approved funding and full and time-limited state incentives, this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to transform our facilities and improve student outcomes. Phase 4 is the largest package yet, approved by City Council and the School Building Authority. It includes new or like new campuses, such as Roger Williams, Robert F. Kennedy, Nathaniel Green, Martin Luther King, along with major restorations at Central, Alvarez, EQ, and others. These projects build on prior phases that expanded pre-K, supported pre-K 8 conversions, and modernized some of our lowest graded facilities. Funding is limited. We cannot advance all projects at once, and we will need to prioritize carefully. Enrollment and grade reconfigurations for pre-K 8 schools must be set by November or December to support student assignments and swing space planning. Swing space is tight, requiring deliberate sequencing to minimize disruption. We must also decide whether to expand pre-K through one or more hubs or through a distributed approach. The School Building Committee will serve as the working body with the board, providing input and public endorsement at key points. Engagement will include, in September, establishing priorities, in October, community and student roundtables, in November to December, board endorsement of reconfiguration decisions, in February, finalization of remaining Phase 4 projects. In just a short time, we have achieved much success and faced some challenges. Phase 4 is an inflection point. With your leadership and alignment with city and state, we can ensure deliberate choices that sustain long-term student success. Tonight, we are asking for school board guidance and feedback on 3 fronts. Thinking about, for future conversation, which priorities should weigh most heavily? What must remain front and center as we set sequencing, enrollment shifts, and swing space? How can we strengthen our engagement strategy to build trust with families and communities? Turning to some recent news, just yesterday we learned that the federal government is suing the Rhode Island Department of Education and Providence Public Schools due to concerns with our Educators of Loan Forgiveness program. As a reminder, it is because this is active legislation and actively under litigation. Under the advice of legal counsel, we cannot share a lot of information publicly about this most recent news. We would like to assure you that PPSD is an equal opportunity employer, and we do not discriminate on the basis of race, age, sex, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, national origin, color, disability, or veteran status. The diversity of our community is a tremendous asset, and we deeply value and support the variety of cultures and identities of our students as well as our staff members. In addition, we recently had some safety concerns at one of our elementary schools, Lillian Feinstein Elementary School at Sackett Street. We met with families and staff yesterday, and it is clear that safety is the top of everyone's mind. We will continue to work together to ensure our schools are welcoming and safe communities. We will continue to meet with the families of Sackett and to become partners in our work. Let's continue to show our community how much students matter. We are investing in their future each and every day, and we could not be more proud of the work that our students, families, and staff do each and every day to ensure excellent instruction every classroom, every day.
Thank you, Dr. Dillon. We are going to be going to items 2.0, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
Motion's been made by Chairman Vehicle. Do I have a second? Second's been made by Chairman Jones. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any noes, any abstentions? The motion passes. Right before we get into approving items 3.0, I would love for the new Chief of Staff, Ms. Lisa, to come up and introduce yourself to the school board. Yes.
Hi, good evening. I'm Lisa DiMartino. I'm joining the Providence Public Schools team as Chief of Staff. I've most recently served as the Director of Education and Student Success at the Rhode Island Foundation, managing our education portfolio. I work very closely with the district on many different initiatives. And I'm excited to be here, and I'm happy to help support the work of leadership and the school board to ensure we continue to support our students in the best way possible.
Thank you so much. Do I have a motion to approve items 3.0, consent agenda?
Motion.
Motion's been made by Dr. Williamson. Do I have a second? Second's been made by Vice President Newman. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any noes, any abstentions? The motion passes. We will be going to items 4.0, public comment, right to be heard. Clerk, do we have anyone signed up for today?
Yes, Patrick Shelton.
All right, Patrick Shelton, are you in the room? Patrick Shelton seems not to be here. Anybody else? All right. All right, we will move to items 5.0, school board member updates. Is there any board members that have updates on tonight? There being none, we will move to items 6.0, which is presentations. We'll start with 6.1, access scores presentations.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome Jen Eflon, who is our Senior Executive Director of Multilingual Learners, and Sandra Stewart, who is our Chief of Student Supports, to lead us through this presentation.
Hi, good evening. So today we are here to present our access student outcomes. Wait 1 second. Technical. While we get the presentation up, I always like to share that I was a former multilingual learner in the district. I attended Providence schools K through 12, so it's really a privilege to be here serving my community in this capacity. For those of you who didn't know me yet. Thank you. Okay, so today we're going to share our access student outcomes, specifically looking at our 2025 access data. So this first slide, I just wanted to make sure we knew what is access and what does it measure. Access is an assessment that our multilingual learners take every year. Usually the window is between January and February. And access measures students' abilities in English language skills, in listening, reading, speaking, and writing. Students are able to score between a 1 and a 6 score in each of these domains. We know if a student continues to qualify for multilingual learner services if they score less than 5 overall points on access. So when a student reaches a 5 or a 6 on access, that shows us that they are fluent, they're proficient in English, and they're actually able to exit from receiving MLL services. So this table shows a lot of data, so I want to break it down for you. It shows our 2025 K through 12 access performance. You'll see at the very top row, you have the overall scores. So you see the percentage of our students who are scoring at each of these English language proficiency levels. The overall score is an average of their listening, reading, speaking, and writing scores. If you look at just the table that has a red box around it, our goal to exit our students is that more students reach that bridging or reaching level. And so you can see that the data in the red box demonstrates that over 33% of MLLs scored proficient in listening, and over 16% scored proficient in reading. Now, the data in the blue demonstrates that about 2% of our MLLs scored proficient in speaking, and about 1% scored proficient in writing. So this data tells us that we need to support our multilingual learners with more opportunities to practice and develop their English language output. So that's speaking and writing. This next table shows our 2025 access performance by subgroup. And a couple of highlights I want to make. If you look at the data, it demonstrates that most of our multilingual learners who take access in PPSD are Hispanic or Latino. When compared to our district's overall levels, there is a higher percentage of Asian MLLs at the bridging level, and a higher percentage of American Indian, Alaska Native, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander MLLs at the entering level. The next table shows our elementary access performance. Now at the top, you'll see again the overall score. So you'll see the percentage of our elementary students K through 5 who are scoring at each of these English proficiency levels. On the column to the far left, this shows the percentages of students who are scoring at the expanding, bridging, and reaching level for each of those domains. Now, something that's wonderful that we have as a resource is something that's called the can-do descriptors. So teachers, educators, anyone working with MLLs has a resource that by proficiency level, you can tell what a student should be able to do at each of these levels in each of the domains. So for the purposes of this presentation, we chose the grades 3 to 5 can-do descriptors. So you can see where we expect students to be and be able to do at each of these levels. There's a lot of text, so I'm just going to focus today on the speaking and writing domain, since that's the area where we see we need to make most growth in. So for example, a student who's scoring at the entering stage in elementary grades 3 to 5, if they're at this level 1, which is where most of our elementary multilingual learners are performing at, that means that they can express basic needs or conditions. They can name pre-taught objects, people, diagrams, or pictures. They can recite words or phrases from pictures of everyday objects. They can answer yes or no questions. Our goal is to help our students develop their skills so they can reach that bridging level. And at bridging, a 3rd through 5th grader should be able to justify, defend opinions or explanations with evidence, give content-based presentations using technical vocabulary, sequence steps in grade level problem solving, and explain in detail results of inquiry. So this just gives you an idea, and we highlighted really the entering levels in speaking and writing, and then our goal to get more students to the bridging levels in those domains. If you go to the next slide, it's the same type of data, but for our middle schoolers. So these are the can-do descriptors for students who are in grades 6 to 8. And again, we see similar trends in middle school. Where we see the most area of need, again, is in speaking and writing. Most students are scoring at the entering level in middle school, and we want to make sure that we're pushing them to the bridging level. And the next slide is showing the can-do descriptors for high school. So again, similar trends. We're seeing that in speaking and writing is where we have, where the work is really for our multilingual learners to expand. This next slide shows the percentage of students who have met the exit criteria. So again, RIDE sets the exit criteria. Our goal is that we're getting more students to score that 5 or a 6 on access. This data shows the percentage of MLLs who've exited since 2018. This data demonstrates that we have surpassed our pre-COVID MLL exit rates in 2025. a higher percentage of MLLs scored proficient in English in 2025 than compared to the past 8 years. There's been a lot of work done in this district to support our MLLs' higher performance. As a district, we've increased the percentage of ESL and bilingual dual language certified teachers. We've implemented daily ELD instruction for all MLLs. We've adopted district-wide ELD curriculum. We've provided professional development on sheltered content instruction, which are strategies that teachers can use to help make content accessible to multilingual learners at their grade level. We provided coaching support to teachers with embedding MLL best practices during core content instruction, and we've been expanding our bilingual dual language programs, which research shows result in higher outcomes for MLLs long-term. So in summary, we've seen historic gains in 2025. We've seen strength in comprehension, so more of our MLLs are scoring at higher rates in listening and reading, but we're really lagging in language output. So our focus is really speaking and writing and making sure that we're giving opportunities for students to practice those domains every single day. We've seen early progress in our elementary and middle school grade levels. There's a higher percentage of students scoring at the expanding and developing levels. And then for equity, we've noted that there are, out of all of our subgroups, our Asian MLLs show stronger performance at the bridging level, while American Indian, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander students are disproportionately at the entering level. So our key takeaway from our 2025 access data is that MLLs are making steady year-over-year progress with clear gains in comprehension and overall exits. However, output, speaking and writing, remain the critical barrier to full proficiency, requiring targeted instructional strategies across grade spans. Yeah, so I included a few different things in the appendix in case you wanted to learn more about how MLLs are identified. I linked the can-do descriptors since they're different for each grade across K through 12. And then I also showed the data that's in table form in a graph form because I'm a visual learner, so I like to see it visually as well. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, any board members? Chairman Jones?
Yeah, so I'm interested in if there's any qualitative data that you may have or in the future that, looks at it from the students who arrive at different times. Because, if the kid's spending more time in PPSD, I think that might be a better indicator on what difference the PPSD staff are making. And then also the strategies, around supporting students that may arrive late. Like if the student comes to PPSD in high school, we obviously can, make the difference of K through 12 in that short period of time, right? So, there's any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's very important to note. So the data that you're seeing really represents a very diverse population. We have over 8,000 MLLs, and about 25% of them, they're really new to the US system. And just new to school in general. So it's their first few years learning English, so we would expect them to be at that entering level. Nationally, we do see trends that we in the district are similar to. Most of our students, when they're at the beginning or early stages of English language proficiency, that's where we see the most growth. A lot of growth can happen during those years. It's really when students have been in the US learning in English for multiple years, where we see that a lot of students end up getting stuck in that mid level. And we see that is true here in Providence as well. Many of our students in the range from 1 to 6 stay in the level 3 or 4. And so we've been really working with schools to identify those students, looking at how many years they've already been receiving MLL services and really targeting interventions for them so that those students should be able to get to that level 5 or 6 on access. And so what can we do to support those students who've been here with us, like you said? And so we do pull a lot of reports, we share them with schools, we meet with our school leaders to try to create plans for how we can best support them.
Dr. Williamson?
Thank you very much for your presentation. It's really interesting. So one question, just sort of, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this or not, but would it make sense to to look at, when we look at performance by subgroup, you may have already done this and decided that it's not worth including in draft one, but would it make sense to look at somebody's first language rather than their fugitive ethnic?
So I have seen that data because I'm very interested in we have over 75 languages represented here. And so because most of our multilingual learners are Spanish speakers, there tends to be a lot of support in our curriculum that embeds, Spanish supports. And I sometimes worry about the other 75 languages and how we can make access for them available as well. When I looked at the data, I didn't see any particular language that stood out. But that is something I can do again if you're interested in it. I can share it by by language.
It might be that nobody else is interested, but I think it's like, or even within Hispanic, ostensibly, I think a Portuguese speaker and Spanish speaker would both be included in that. So are we getting different results in those two groups?
Yeah, I can definitely provide that.
Just be interesting to see, and like especially like this sort of native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, like it's a very small end. So but it might be interesting to see like what language do they speak rather than.
Yeah, and I think when you do it by language, the ends actually become so much smaller
tiny,
because by country or by language,
right.
we have over 91 countries.
Right.
We have over 75 languages.
So we might run into a small numbers problem where we can't actually share that data publicly because if we potentially identify information, but it might be interesting just at least internally. That was just a thought.
You can share with them the all the student languages in the district and numbers for that too.
I was also interested, like the graph, I'm actually, could you just talk me through, when we're looking at the overall on the access performance,
Yes.
on the left-hand column, like these percentages that we're looking at here, how do those relate to the percentages on the top?
Yeah, so I think, are you looking at the elementary, middle, or high school?
Any
So
of those.
the percentages on the left column are the percentage of students who are scoring in the expanding, bridging, and reaching. So if you were to add up the expanding, bridging, and reaching in that domain, that's what that percentage represents.
Okay, great. And then the column along the top, the overall is the overall percentage of students in each of those categories who are meeting those three domains, right?
The overall at the top indicates the percentage of students who scored at the entering level. So an entering would be an overall 1 score at the elementary level or at the middle or high school level, depending on which one you're looking at. Yep. So that tells us that if you're looking at which one, elementary?
Look at the elementary.
So at the elementary one, the overall percentage shows that there's 31% of students in grades K to 5 who are at the entering level.
When they come in the front. When they took the test.
When they took the test, yeah. And again, that percentage of students represents students who are new to the US learning English for the first time, as well as students who've been here for a few years.
Okay.
And they do take it in January, February, so it's just important to note that it's the test really mid-year.
Right.
It's not an end-of-year test.
So, and the other question I had is you said that that the scores are actually a bit higher for for speaking and reading at the elementary level than they are at the later levels. You said that was likely due to successful early interventions. Do we have multi-year data that you're looking at that
Yes.
those two have gone, those areas have gone?
Yeah, I can tell you that I love data, so I look at it all the time, but something that we've done at the elementary level that we've seen great success in year over year is that a lot of our students who exit are actually in bilingual language programs. And so it's one of the reasons why we're trying to expand those programs in middle and high school.
Right. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you for your presentation.
Vice President Newman and Board Member Houston.
Thank you so much for that presentation. Really appreciate it. I just have a general question just around what is PPSD's philosophy as it relates to just language acquisition for folks who are coming into the country? I remember taking this class in college and it was this sort of different ways to think about language acquisition and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's like this sort of like philosophy that kind of leads to like language extinction versus like inclusive like ways. And I just wonder like, yeah, just like when it comes to our students, like what is our philosophy? Why do we push so hard to make sure that people are learning English? Like, I think I know why, but also like I just wonder if PPSD has like a sort of like philosophical like a reason for why we're measuring people's like intelligence success by what they can do in English versus their native languages.
I would say that we're very aligned to RIDE's MLL blueprint, which was created for the whole state. And it's a very asset-based approach. So we know that our students come with many languages, sometimes more than one, and they have so much that they already know. And so we're trying to add on to what they already know instead of replacing. There are maybe other states or other districts that do have like an English only philosophy. That's not what we have here. Like we embrace multilingualism. And so when we have students who are brand new, we want to add on and we want to make sure that we honor their culture and their heritage wherever they're coming from. And so there are a lot of strategies that we show teachers to help make sure that they can also use students' native languages in the classroom to support with comprehension, to be very intentional with pairing students with other peers who speak their native language so that when they're learning content, they can describe what they're learning in their own language and then at the same time be able to transfer those skills to English. And so there isn't, I wouldn't say like our end goal isn't just to learn English, like we also want to make sure that we're maintaining and honoring their native languages. And even at the high school level, we have monolingual students that we also want to encourage to learn another language. And so we have goals for the seal of biliteracy. We want all of our kids to be able to graduate being multilingual, not just our MLLs, but even our monolingual students.
Yeah, thank you for that. That makes a lot of sense. And I do have questions about like, yeah, like how are students, if at all, like giving credit for being fluent in their native languages? And
We definitely do that.
Yeah.
At the high school level, for example, just one quick example, students have to, in order to graduate, this is a state requirement, they have to have 2 years of world language. We know that many of our multilingual learners already have that, and so they can take a test and show that they are proficient in that language and not need to take those courses. They can still take other languages or more advanced language courses, but that's something that we do so they don't have to sit in a classroom learning a language that they already know, they're already proficient in that. Yeah, and we also do allow students to take tests in other languages. So it's not only that we're measuring their English proficiency. When it comes to content, we want to make sure that we're measuring the content knowledge and not necessarily their proficiency in English.
right, definitely. And my last question just related to that is like how, if at all, like I don't know how this would be measured necessarily, but for MLL students, like do we know how their GPA is sort of affected by, like I don't know, like is it like, so obviously maybe it's not obvious, I only speak English and gibberish as well. If you grew up in like the 90s, then you speak that a little bit maybe. So monolingual. And I remember having to take English, English, but like Spanish and stuff like that. But say if I flunked Spanish, like my GPA wasn't so messed up that I couldn't like move on to the next grade level. And I guess what I'm trying to get at in the most not articulate way right now is like, is it sort of comparable? Like if a student is like MLL and maybe they're really struggling, with learning English, like are they more affected GPA wise than say a monolingual student would be if they were to like not make progress in a dual language subject?
I think I can try to answer this question. So one of the things that our office looks at, and we work really closely with a lot of other departments. And so I know TNL runs reports where they want to see, which students are failing courses. We want to make sure we intervene early so that we don't end the year with students failing. When I get that data, I like to differentiate it by, okay, MLLs, non-MLLs, like how is this affecting our population? And I like to break it down even further by program because we have different MLL programs. And so when I see that there's a disproportionate set of students who are failing, then we have managers in my department who can work with schools directly and really try to go, deeper with this data. Let's see what's going on. How can we best support? And so anytime we run data, I think as a district, we do a great job of kind of differentiating that data so we can really look at subgroups and then we can really get to target, what is it that it's affecting that subpopulation. And so I know we do that for failures. We're doing that like every quarter. We're looking at that data. I haven't seen necessarily that MLLs are disproportionately failing certain courses. What I have seen is that we want to make sure that we have more MLLs taking more rigorous courses. And so I'm working really hard with equity and with T&L to make sure that we give MLLs more access to like AP and honors courses, because at the end of the day, we want them to be challenged and, you know, able to just access higher rigorous curriculum, and that's something else that we look at.
Board Member Hughes?
Thank you for this presentation. It's awesome to get to look at all of this data, and congratulations to you and your team for all the hard work that you're doing and your students. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more on slide 4, for example, when we look at the access performance by subgroup, that I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, that the final row at the bottom is our differently abled students. And so I see that that number is 1,226, but I believe that that is a number that would overlap with all of the above
Correct.
subgroups. So I'm wondering if you could just talk a little bit about our students who maybe are needing both MLL services and special education supports.
Yeah, so that number does represent over like 20% of our entire MLL population. And so we work really collaboratively under Sandy's leadership with the special ed department. We actually have a fairly new position that is someone who helps bridge between the MLL and special ed departments. I think there's a lot of work to do in this particular, how to support this particular subgroup of students nationally. And so we're doing our best that anytime there is an IEP meeting or any meeting regarding an evaluation of a student who is already a multilingual learner, that we have people attending those meetings who can really advocate for a student. We don't want to over-identify students with disabilities when they might be in the process of learning English. And so there's a lot of questions and a lot of data that we have to look at to really make that determination if a student does qualify for both. In the district too, we've been working very hard since 2018, since I started in my role, at making sure that students who are dually identified aren't not receiving a service over the other. So it's very important that we work with guidance teams, with school leaders, so that school schedules allow our students to actually receive both services and never one replacing the other. It's challenging when we have students who need, you know, a lot of service hours in both areas, but that's why we've also partnered with HR. I mean, it's a whole district initiative where we've had to have more teachers who are certified in both special ed and ESL to be able to, you know, support those students.
Thank you so much. And my only other comment or thing that I would love to hear more about is, I'm not sure if I'm reading this correctly, but like the reason that we see in the on slides 5, 6, and 7 that the reaching category is mostly empty is because that's when our students are exiting, correct? And so our goal is to get everyone to the category eventually in the 5 or 6.
Yes.
And just noting that that's, you know, that's not a blank, that is our students have exited. I think I remember, and I know that this is talking specifically about the access test, which is a specific test for our MLL learners. I know we've heard in previous presentations from Dr. Dill and her team and others that we have seen that once students have exited, that they're actually outperforming our students who were never in our MLL designation. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
So I'm going to highlight that every single time I possibly can, because that to me is an indicator that all of the wonderful things that we're doing for our students in our MLL programs are supporting them in ways beyond just their English language acquisition, but they're supporting them for strong academic outcomes and beyond. Is there anything else you'd want to tell us about that other than yay?
Yeah, well, one thing I love, it's very exciting to share, is that wasn't always true in PPSD. That is like a national trend, and I was worried when I first started in 2018 that wasn't a trend in Providence. So we were exiting students and they weren't outperforming the never MLL students. So we're at that place now, which shows like, yes, we've supported our students not only in exiting, but then also following suit with the rest of the nation. When they exit, they should outperform.